Oh my goodness, we are finally here. We have reached the peak of the NBA season. The time of the NBA season where everyone looks forward to. It's the end of April. It's the mid to late April, going into May, and eventually we're going to get to June. That is none other than the time reserved for the NBA playoffs. And in this video, I will be talking about what potentially could be some of the best set of series that we have seen since 2016. Yes, the same 2016 where we saw two teams blow a 3-1 lead. Yes, the same 2016 where we saw some of the most clutchest and worst performances from superstars that we know and love today. And in this video specifically, I'll be talking about the Western Conference, which has established itself as one of the most stacked, loaded, and competitive conferences in the entire NBA. In the last video, I talked about the East, and I broke down how different matchups were, how different teams match up against each other in my prediction for each series. So make sure you go and check that out after you get done with this video. But in this video, I'll be breaking down the West. But before I get too deep in the video, make sure you leave a like on the video because I know you're going to enjoy it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because if you enjoyed this video, you're going to enjoy the rest of my videos. And just make sure you sit back, have a good time, and if you agree with anything I say, make sure you leave it down below. But that's all I got. And let's get right back into the video. Now, as I mentioned previously, the Western Conference this year is very stacked from top to bottom. Even teams competing for a play-in are some of the most loaded teams in the entire league. If we start at the top, it's none other than the Oklahoma City Thunder, and what more is there to say about the Oklahoma City Thunder? They feature the best record, or one of the best records in the NBA. They sit atop the Western Conference. They're #1 overall seed. They have arguably the best player in the NBA on their team, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who is more than likely going to win the MVP on ridiculous efficiency and is having one of the best scoring seasons we have seen from a player ever. And then you have a supporting cast featuring J-Dub, Chet Holmgren, Aaron Wiggins, and all of these players put together on this team. Young, however, this team has gotten some experience, and now this year they are looking like the best team in the NBA. Right behind them, you have another young, exciting team. It's none other than the Houston Rockets, led by new coach Ime Udoka, with exciting talent Amin Thompson, Alperen Sengun, led with veteran Fred VanVleet. The Rockets have had a pretty good season this year, and they're going to the playoffs pretty underrated. And the first series I want to get into is none other than the Oklahoma City Thunder versus whoever they will play in the play-in. My prediction is that they'll end up playing the Grizzlies in the play-in. I just don't think they're going to be able to beat the Warriors. And I think in the end, they'll end up having to match up against this Thunder in the first round. Now, the Grizzlies and the Thunder don't really match up very well from the Grizzlies' perspective. I talked about OKC a little bit in the beginning, but let's go over them again, shall we? They feature one of the best offenses in the entire NBA, one of the best players in the entire NBA, and one of the best defenses in the entire NBA, and one of the best benches, one of the best coaches. You get it by now. That's OKC. The Grizzlies have had a lot go on all season, but specifically in the past couple of weeks, with the firing their head coach, with the drama surrounding Ja, it's just been a lot for Memphis, and this is the reason why they have fallen all the way down to the 9th seed, or the 8th seed in the NBA, and why they're now in the play-in. Despite being one of the top seeds earlier in the season, just with everything that has gone on, it just isn't looking like Memphis has everything put together. Which is why I think Oklahoma ends up getting these boys out of there in 5. I think Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson can give Memphis a game and bring some hope back to his fan base. And I think that their new head coach will finally start to get his feet a little wet and be able to get one good game out of the Thunder. But overall, I think OKC is just too good. They're too well coached. They're just a well-oiled machine. And I don't think the Grizzlies are going to be the team to stop them. Now, of course, if the Grizzlies lose to the Warriors after play the Thunder, then obviously the Warriors are going to have to play none other than the Houston Rockets. And this is crazy. This is going to be a big series, especially given the history between these two teams. If we look at the Rockets are a young and up-and-coming team. They have a bunch of young talent, and they have been phenomenal this season when a lot of people really didn't expect it. You have a player like Fred VanVleet, who has served as a nice veteran player for that team. You have Amin Thompson, who has been arguably the best well, one of the best defenders in the entire NBA this season. Then you have a great supporting cast featuring players like Alperen Sengun, Jalen Green on this roster who have served their purpose in a multitude of ways and are a big reason why the Rockets are the number 2 seed in the entire Western Conference. But the Golden State Warriors are looking a bit different. They were struggling to start off the season and to look really bad, and they had a lot of people, including me, doubting the future for the Warriors because it was looking pretty bleak. Then the trade deadline come, one of the greatest trade deadlines we've ever seen. They get none other than Jimmy Butler. And the Warriors have looked phenomenal ever since this trade. And it looks like the Warriors have a serious chance to compete from the title, especially from what we've seen from Jimmy and Steph and Draymond. Draymond has kind of went on a little press run and has vocalized that he's taking it up a notch. He wants to win that Defensive Player of the Year, and he's looked once again, I mean, not like he was looking bad at the start of the season, but has once again looked like one of the best defenders throughout the entire NBA. Stephen Curry. Throughout the season, he had highs and lows, and he just looked like he was kind of starting to give up on the team a little bit. But ever since Jimmy has come on the team, Steph looks like Stephen Curry. And Jimmy Butler has come on this team and served as a great little shift as to what they needed. He's phenomenal defense in the ball and has allowed the Warriors to return back to one of the better defenses in the NBA. He serves a nice little change of pace for the Warriors as he is able to get to the free throw line, change the type of pace that they play out consistently, and also give the Warriors a secondary shot creator outside of Stephen Curry, which is something they desperately needed, especially with Klay Thompson leaving in the offseason. And this has led the Warriors to be one of the best teams in the second half of the NBA. Really, ever since the trade, they've been one of the better teams in the entire NBA, not just the Western Conference. However, with how bad they started, they found themselves playing in the play-in and having to compete either against the Thunder or the Rockets. And I think the Warriors are looking to play the Rockets, and I think this series versus the Rockets and the Warriors is going to be one for the ages. I think the Rockets end up beating the Warriors in 7. However, boy, will this be a close series. The Rockets, I just think they're a better coach. They have the defensive game plan to match up against the Warriors. And I think overall they end up taking it in 7. However, it's one of those series where it can go either way. I think the Rockets taking it in 7, but then again, a Game 7 with Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler in the playoffs, my mind just honestly isn't all the way on the side of the Warriors losing. However, the Rockets have been consistent all season, and the Warriors have not. But even saying it out loud, I'm still going back and forth on who I think will win this series. Now, the next series features 2 teams who had pretty similar expectations. However, they went the opposite way. And that's none other than the Los Angeles Lakers as the number 3 seed and the Minnesota Timberwolves as a number 6 seed. Now, we're talking about the Los Angeles Lakers. They were a team who, coming to the season, we didn't know what they were going to look like. JJ Redick was expected to be the head coach. However, he was a first-time head coach, never had any coaching experience except for, I think he was coaching like some high school team for like some kids when and he was doing his podcast. But expectations were not really high for JJ Redick and the Lakers. But the Lakers came out, LeBron and AD, and they were doing their thing. Austin Reeves was having a career year. It was all great. And then Rob Pelinka gets offered Luka Doncic, which makes sense. The Lakers were they had a struggling point at one point in the season. And with the way LeBron was looking like Father Time was starting to beat him, injury was starting to get to AD, people were just very curious as to how the season was going to play out. Then the trade deadline comes and they end up trading for none other than Luka Doncic. And at first, the Lakers looked phenomenal. Best defense in the league, one of the best offenses. They looked amazing. But we knew this wasn't going to last. The Lakers' personnel outside of their big 3 and Dorian Finney-Smith wasn't really the best. Of course, you have Dorian Finney-Smith, you have Jared Vanderbilt, you have Austin Reeves. You have these players. However, they're not the ideal roster for a team to be successful in the defensive end long term. However, you still got LeBron James and Luka Doncic, and you have JJ Redick, who has done a phenomenal job coaching the Lakers with actually implementing a scheme for that team. That's why they're now the 3rd seed in the league. And, hey, we're able to achieve a 50-win season. On the other end, you have the Minnesota Timberwolves, who come into the season, especially after the run they had last year, had very high expectations. And although Anthony Edwards has been phenomenal, their trade for Julius Randle, dealing away Karl-Anthony Towns because they didn't want to pay him the money, kind of derailed their season a good bit. But they picked it up in recent weeks and have actually been one of the better teams throughout the Western Conference. And that is why they now find themselves as a 6th seed when at one point they were fighting for a play-in spot. So now you got the Lakers versus the Timberwolves. And I'm going to take the Lakers in 6. I think the Lakers are going to win in 6 because they're just a better team. I think they're a better coach. And I think they have the defensive personnel to match up against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota's bigger. You have Rudy Gobert. You have Julius Randle. However, I don't see a way for anybody else on that team to be able to take any pressure. Maybe Jaden McDaniels, but take pressure off of Anthony Edwards as a creator. And on the opposite end, nobody's going to hold Luka. Nobody's going to hold LeBron. It's going to be difficult for them to get in the paint. However, I feel like J.J. Redick will be able to put something together for that team. And the final series, what will probably be the second most competitive series in the entire Western Conference, features two teams who also came this season on very opposite ends of the spectrum. That is none other than the Denver Nuggets and the Los Angeles Clippers. Denver Nuggets came into the season just with a bunch of people just trying to see where they're going to be. They kind of shifted their focus from having all of these experienced veterans on the team to kind of investing in their younger players. You still have Jokic, you still have Jamal Murray, you still have Michael Porter Jr., you still have some of your core players from that championship run. But outside of these players, now you have a Zeke Naji instead of a Bruce Brown. You have a Christian Braun. You have a bunch of different players in brand new situations for whatever reason. You know what I'm saying? And the Nuggets, they were looking pretty decent. They were fighting for a second seed at one point in the season. However, I don't know what happened. It all just fell. They ended up falling all the way down to the 4th seed, all the way down. They ended up falling to the 4th seed, and a lot of stuff was happening. Jokic just had a phenomenal season. Russell Westbrook has been great for them. However, in recent weeks, they just haven't really looked good. And they're kind of like the Memphis Grizzlies, to where they just have a lot of stuff going on in that arena right now. They just fired their coach, Mike Malone, which is a very surprising move to everybody, me included. And Nuggets haven't really looked good ever since that firing. Has a lot of people question why that move happened in the first place. So, as great as Jokic has been, I don't really know, because there isn't really anybody else on that team who Jokic can look to really do something with the ball in their hands, unless Jamal Murray is able to really fully get back healthy and contribute to winning basketball for the Nuggets. But then you got the Clippers on the other side, who people didn't really know what to expect of them. They lost Paul George, but you have some players coming into the season kind of talking a little mess, saying that Paul George leaving wasn't necessarily a bad thing. And as we can see, they're the number 5 seed in the best conference in the NBA. So seems like it kind of was a little bit of addition by subtraction. I'll talk a little bit more about the Clippers in this video right here, so you can go ahead and check that out. But overall, I think with the way Kawhi Leonard has been playing, if he can stay healthy and keep this up in the playoffs, with how great James Harden has been, as he was an all-star once again this year, I think the Clippers are able to take the Nuggets out in 6. I just can't trust the Nuggets team that has too much going on. Their mind just isn't able to focus on basketball. In the playoffs, you have to be able to focus on basketball. So regardless of how great Jokic plays, I think Tyronn Lue, they're great coaching, and with how great I believe Kawhi Leonard and James Harden are going to play, I think they're going to take the Nuggets out in 6. Nuggets just go home, regroup for the offseason, and the Clippers get to move on. And these are just my opinions on how I think the Western Conference first round is going to go. Now, to recap my picks, I think OKC beats whoever they play in the first round. I think the Warriors beat the Rockets in 7 in a Game 7 in Houston. I think the Rockets end up taking it out. I think the Lakers beat the Timberwolves in 6. And I believe that the Clippers take the Nuggets out in 5 to 6 games. Now, these series are very hard to pick outside the OKC series, just because, and the OKC and the Lakers series, just because it can go either way for each team. Like, yes, the Nuggets have a lot of stuff going on, however, they still have Nikola Jokic. And the Clippers are still the Clippers, and we know how they have looked in the past. And yes, I think the Lakers are going to beat the Timberwolves, but Timberwolves are still been pretty great as of recent. They still have Anthony Edwards, who is not somebody to be played with. Let me know who you guys have in the comments. Do you agree with my picks? Do you disagree with my picks? Why do you disagree? Make sure you leave all that below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave it a like. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, because if you like this video, you're going to like the rest of my videos. But that's all I got. And until next time, peace.